Question number 201. Your company's Google Cloud organization has about 200 projects and 1,500 virtual machines. There is no uniform strategy for logs and events management, which reduces visibility for your security operations team. You need to design a logs management solution that provides visibility and allows the security team to view the environment's configuration. What should you do? A. 1. Create a dedicated log sync for each project that is in scope. 2. Use a BigQuery dataset with time partitioning enabled as a destination of the log syncs. 3. Deploy alerts based on log metrics in every project. 4. Grant the role monitoring viewer to the security operations team in each project. B. 1. Create one log sync at the organization level that includes all the child resources. 2. Use as destination a pub/subtopic to ingest the logs into the security information and event management (SIEM) on premises and ensure that the right team can access the SIEM. 3. Grant the viewer role at organization level to the security operations team. C1. Enable network logs and data access logs for all resources in the production folder. 2. Do not create log syncs to avoid unnecessary costs and latency. 3. Grant the roles logs viewer and browser at project level to the security operations team. D1. Create one sync for the production folder that includes child resources and one sync for the logs ingested at the organization level that excludes child resources. 2. As destination, use a log bucket with a minimum retention period of 90 days in a project that can be accessed by the security team. 3. Grant the security operations team the role of security reviewer at organization level. The correct answer is B. B1. Create one log sync at the organization level that includes all the child resources. 2. Use as destination a pub/subtopic to ingest the logs into the security information and event management (SIEM) on premises and ensure that the right team can access the SIEM. 3. Grant the viewer role at organization level to the security operations team. Question number 202. Your Google Cloud organization allows for administrative capabilities to be distributed to each team through provision of a Google Cloud project with owner role, roles/owner. The organization contains thousands of Google Cloud projects. Security Command Center Premium has surfaced multiple open_mysql_port findings. You are enforcing the guardrails and need to prevent these types of common misconfigurations. What should you do? A. Create a hierarchical firewall policy configured at the organization to deny all connections from 0.0.0.0.0/0. B. Create a hierarchical firewall policy configured at the organization to allow connections only from internal IP ranges. C. Create a Google Cloud Armor security policy to deny traffic from 0.0.0.0 and 0. D. Create a firewall rule for each virtual private cloud, VPC, to deny traffic from 0.0.0.0/0 with priority 0. The correct answer is B. B. Create a hierarchical firewall policy configured at the organization to allow connections only from internal IP ranges. Question number 203. Your organization must comply with the regulation to keep instance logging data within Europe. Your workloads will be hosted in the Netherlands in Region Europe West 4 in a new project. You must configure cloud logging to keep your data in the country. What should you do? A. Configure the organization policy constraint GCP.resource locations to Europe West 4. B. Configure log sync to export all logs into a cloud storage bucket in Europe West 4. C. Create a new log bucket in Europe West 4 and redirect the _default bucket to the new bucket. D. Set the logging storage region to Europe West 4 by using the Cloud CLI logging settings update. The correct answer is C. Create a new log bucket in Europe West 4 and redirect the _default bucket to the new bucket. Question number 204. You are using Security Command Center, SCC, to protect your workloads and receive alerts for suspected security breaches at your company. You need to detect cryptocurrency mining software. Which SCC service should you use? A. Virtual Machine Threat Detection. B. Container Threat Detection. C. Rapid Vulnerability Detection. D. Web Security Scanner. The correct answer is A. Virtual Machine Threat Detection. Question number 205. You are running applications outside Google Cloud that need access to Google Cloud resources. You are using Workload Identity Federation to grant external identities identity and access management, IAM, roles to eliminate the maintenance and security burden associated with service account keys. You must protect against attempts to spoof another user's identity and gain unauthorized access to Google Cloud resources. What should you do? Choose 2. A. Enable data access logs for IAM APIs. B. Limit the number of external identities that can impersonate a service account. C. Use a dedicated project to manage workload identity pools and providers. D. Use immutable attributes in attribute mappings. E. Limit the resources that a service account can access. The correct answer is C and D. C. Use a dedicated project to manage workload identity pools and providers. D. Use immutable attributes in attribute mappings. Question number 206. You manage a BigQuery analytical data warehouse in your organization. You want to keep data for all your customers in a common table while you also restrict query access based on rows and columns permissions. Non-query operations should not be supported. What should you do? Choose 2. A. Create row-level access policies to restrict the result data when you run queries with the filter expression set to true. B. Configure column-level encryption by using authenticated encryption with associated data, AEAD, functions with Cloud Key Management Service, KMS, to control access to columns at query runtime. C. Create row-level access policies to restrict the result data when you run queries with the filter expression set to false. D. Configure dynamic data masking rules to control access to columns at query runtime. E. Create column-level policy tags to control access to columns at query runtime. Correct answer, C and E. C. Create row-level access policies to restrict the result data when you run queries with the filter expression set to false. E. Create column-level policy tags to control access to columns at query runtime. Question number 207. Your DevOps team uses Packer to build compute engine images by using this process. 1. Create an ephemeral compute engine VM. 2. Copy a binary from a cloud storage bucket to the VM's file system. 3. Update the VM's package manager. 4. Install external packages from the internet onto the VM. Your security team just enabled the organizational policy, constraints/compute.vm external IP access, to restrict the usage of public IP addresses on VMs. In response, your DevOps team updated their scripts to remove public IP addresses on the Compute Engine VMs. However, the build pipeline is failing due to connectivity issues. What should you do? Choose 2. A. Provision an HTTP load balancer with the VM in an unmanaged instance group to allow inbound connections from the internet to your VM. B. Provision a cloud NAT instance in the same VPC and region as the Compute Engine VM. C. Enable private Google access on the subnet that the Compute Engine VM is deployed within. D. Update the VPC routes to allow traffic to and from the internet. E. Provision a cloud VPN tunnel in the same VPC and region as the Compute Engine VM. The correct answer is B and C. B. Provision a cloud NAT instance in the same VPC and region as the Compute Engine VM. C. Enable private Google access on the subnet that the Compute Engine VM is deployed within. Question number 208. Your organization recently activated the Security Command Center, SCC, standard tier. There are a few cloud storage buckets that were accidentally made accessible to the public. You need to investigate the impact of the incident and remediate it. What should you do? A. 1. Remove the Identity and Access Management, IAM, granting access to all users from the buckets. 2. Apply the organization policy storage.uniform bucket level access to prevent regressions. 3. Query the data access logs to report on unauthorized access. B. 1. Change permissions to limit access for authorized users. 2. Enforce a VPC service controls perimeter around all the production projects to immediately stop any unauthorized access. 3. Review the administrator activity audit logs to report on any unauthorized access. C1. Change the bucket permissions to limit access. 2. Query the bucket's usage logs to report on unauthorized access to the data. 3. Enforce the organization policy storage.public access prevention to avoid regressions. D1. Change bucket permissions to limit access. 2. Query the data access audit logs for any unauthorized access to the buckets. 3. After the misconfiguration is corrected, mute the finding in the Security Command Center. The correct answer is C. C1. Change the bucket permissions to limit access. 2. Query the bucket's usage logs to report on unauthorized access to the data. 3. Enforce the organization policy storage.public access prevention to avoid regressions. Question number 209. Your organization is transitioning to Google Cloud. You want to ensure that only trusted container images are deployed on Google Kubernetes Engine, GKE, clusters in a project. The containers must be deployed from a centrally managed container registry and signed by a trusted authority. What should you do? Choose 2. A. Enable container threat detection in the Security Command Center, SCC, for the project. B. Configure the Trusted Image Organization Policy constraint for the project. C. Create a custom organization policy constraint to enforce binary authorization for Google Kubernetes Engine, GKE. D. Enable pod security standards and set them to restricted. E. Configure the binary authorization policy with respective attestations for the project. The correct answer is C and E. C. Create a custom organization policy constraint to enforce binary authorization for Google Kubernetes Engine, GKE. E. Configure the binary authorization policy with respective attestations for the project. Question number 210. Your company uses Google Cloud and has publicly exposed network assets. You want to discover the assets and perform a security audit on these assets by using a software tool in the least amount of time. What should you do? A. Run a platform security scanner on all instances in the organization. B. Identify all external assets by using Cloud Asset Inventory, and then run a network security scanner against them. C. Contact a Google-approved security vendor to perform the audit. D. Notify Google about the pending audit and wait for confirmation before performing the scan. The correct answer is B. B. Identify all external assets by using Cloud Asset Inventory, and then run a network security scanner against them.